I trust that you're doing well. Welcome to this Fountain channel, your go-to destination for insightful and engaging educational content. Here we explore a wide range of topics from science and history to technology and beyond. Prepare to expand your knowledge and spark your curiosity with our carefully crafted videos. Subscribe now and join us on our journey of discovery. In today's session, we're going to look at Lindbergh Kidnapping, which is a forensic botany case study. This case study dates back to 1st March 1932, where a 20-month-old Charles A. Lindbergh Jr., son of Charles and Anne Marie Lindbergh, was kidnapped. About 9 p.m. from the nursery on the second floor of the Lindbergh family near Hopewell, New Jersey. And the child's absence was discovered and reported to his parents, who were then at home, by his nurse, Betty Go. A search of the premises was immediately made. A ransom note demanding $50,000 was found on the nursery windowsill. After the Hopewell police were notified, the report was telephoned to the New Jersey State Police, who assumed charge of the investigation. During the search at the kidnapping scene, traces of mud were found on the floor of the nursery. Footprints that were impossible to measure were found on the nursery window. There were two sections of a ladder that had been used in reaching the window, and one of the two sections was split or broken where it joined the other, and that indicated the ladder had broken either during ascent or descent, but there were no blood stains, no fingerprints in the nursery. Household and estate employees were questioned and investigated. On 6th March 1932, a second ransom note was received by Colonel Lindbergh, which was postmarked Brooklyn, New Jersey, March 4, in which the demand was to increase the ransom to $70,000. A police conference was called by the governor of New Jersey, which was attended by prosecuting officials, police authorities, as well as government representatives. On 8th March 1932, a third ransom note was received by Colonel Lindbergh's attorney, and this was informing that an intermediary appointed by the Lindberghs wouldn't be accepted, and also requesting a note in the newspaper. And on the same day, Dr. John F. Condon, a retired school principal, published in the Bronx Home News an offer to act as a go-between and to pay an additional $1,000 ransom. And on 9th March 1932, a fourth ransom note was received by Dr. Condon, which indicated he would be accepted as go-between, and was approved by Colonel Lindbergh. On 10th March 1932, Dr. Condon received $70,000 in cash as ransom and immediately started negotiations for payment through newspaper columns using the codename Jafse. That is the codename that he used. On 12th March 1932, about 8:30 p.m., after receiving an anonymous telephone call, Dr. Condon received the fifth ransom note delivered by Joseph Perron, a taxicab, who received it from an unidentified stranger. The message stated that another note would be found beneath a stone at a vacant stand, 100 feet from an outlying subway station. The sixth note was found by Dr. Condon as indicated. Following instructions therein, the doctor met an unidentified man who called himself John, and they met at Woodlawn Cemetery near the 233rd Street and Jerome Avenue. They discussed payment of the ransom money. The stranger agreed to furnish a token of Charles' identity. Condon was accompanied by a bodyguard except while talking to John, and John is in quotes because that's what the stranger alleged his name is. During the next few days, Dr. Condon repeated his advertisements, urging further contact and stating his willingness to pay the ransom. And on 16th March 1932, a baby's sleeping suit as a token of identity and a seventh ransom note were received by Dr. Condon. The suit was delivered to Colonel Lindbergh and it was later identified. Condon continued his advertisements, and on 21st March 1932, and the eighth ransom note was received by Condon, insisting on complete compliance and advising the kidnapping had been planned for a year. On March 29, 1932, Betty Gow, the Lindbergh nurse, found the infant's thumb guard that was worn at the time of kidnapping near the estate entrance. And on 30th March, ninth ransom note was received by Condon, threatening to increase the demand to $100,000 and refusing a code for use in the newspaper columns. On 1st April 1932, a 10th ransom note was received by Condon, instructing him to have money ready the following night, to which Condon replied by an ad in the press. On 2nd April 1932, an 11th ransom note was received by Condon, and it was delivered to him by an identified taxi driver who said he received it from an unknown man. Dr. Condon found the 12th ransom note under a stone in front of the greenhouse at 3225 East Tremont Avenue, Bronx, New York, as instructed on the 11th note. The same evening, by following the 12th note instructions, Condon met John, remember John is in quotes, to reduce the demand to $50,000. This amount was handed to the stranger in exchange for a receipt, and a 13th note containing instructions to the effect of the kidnapped child could be found on a boat named Nellie near Mother's Vineyard, and the stranger then walked north into the park woods. On that April, an unsuccessful, meaning it was not successful, search for the baby was made near Mother's Vineyard. The search was later repeated. Dr. Condon was positive that he would recognize John if he ever saw him again. On 12th May 1932, body of the kidnapped baby was accidentally found, partly buried and badly decomposed, about 4.5 miles southeast of the Lindbergh home. And the discovery was made by William Allen, an assistant on a truck driven by Wilson. The head was crushed, and there was a hole on the skull, and some body parts were missing. The body was positively identified and cremated in New Jersey on 13th May 1932. And the coroner's examination showed that the child had been dead for about 2 months, and the death was caused by a blow in the head. On 10th June 1932, Violet Sharp, a waitress in the home of Mrs. Lindbergh's mother, that is Mrs. Dwight Morrow, who had been under investigation by authorities, committed suicide by poison when she was about to be questioned. Her movements on the night of 1st March 1932, that is when the kidnapping took place, had however been carefully checked, and it was soon ascertained that she had no connection with the abduction. In early 1933, on 2nd May 1933, Federal Reserve Bank of New York discovered 296 $10 gold certificates and one of $20 gold certificate, all Lindbergh ransom notes. They had been made in one deposit, and later the FBI retained the services of an artist to prepare a portrait of John from the descriptions furnished by Dr. Condon and Joseph Perron, the taxi cab driver. Representatives of New York City Bureau office engaged Dr. Cordon to prepare a transcript of a conversation he had with John. And on March 12th, that is the conversations that Dr. Condon had with John on March 12th and 2nd April 1932, on which he personally contacted the kidnapper. The conversations in March 1934 were transcribed in detail on phonograph records by Dr. Condon, who imitated the pronunciations and the dialect of John. In this manner, the nationality, education, mentality, and character of the kidnapper were clearly defined and permanently preserved for future use. Early 1933, Arthur Kohler, an expert of the Forest Service, United States Department of Agriculture, was called. He disabled the ladder and he identified the types of wood used and examined the tool marks. He also looked at the patterns made by the nail holes, for it appeared likely that some wood had been used before in indoor construction. He made field trips to the Lindbergh estate and to factories to trace some of the wood. 19th September 1934, Bruno Richard Hauptmann was positively identified by Joseph Perron, that is the taxi cab driver, and his writing and that on the ransom notes disclosed remarkable similarities. Tool marks on the ladder matched the tools owned by Hauptmann, that is by Bruno Richard. Wood in the ladder was found to match wood used as flooring in his attic. Also, Dr. Cordon's telephone number and address were found scrolled in a door frame inside a closet, that is in Bruno Richard's house. In February 13th February 1935, Bruno Richard was found guilty of first-degree murder and he was electrocuted on 3rd April 1936 at 8:47 p.m. And that is how forensic botany helped to solve the case, the kidnapping and the murder of Lindbergh. And that is the end of our session. Thank you for joining us.